Taxes was feeling so stuck. Sitting in traffic, squeezing into a parking spot, all to squeeze in getting tax help during your lunch break. Now Taxes is a TurboTax expert who does your taxes for you, while you go about your day getting real-time notifications about their progress and the most money back guaranteed. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service, real-time updates only in iOS mobile apps. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
We will not be held responsible for any hearing impairments or damage caused to you from excessive exposure to this sound.
It is the 25th of January. It's the Sackheads Radio Show. I am the ugliest man on the face of radio, Sean, and across from me is all right, so I'm the second ugliest man on the face of radio. That's Clint. How you doing, buddy?
I'm not talking to you right now.
Well, that's good because we are simulcasting live right now on the 405 Radio, so you can pick us up on Blog Talk or on the 405radio.com on the live feed. The chat room's open if anyone wants to get in the chat room. Phone number for tonight's show is 347-205-9399.
Is that the phone number just for tonight's show, or is that our
phone number every night?
Then why would you say for tonight's show? You do this every week.
Yeah.
And I don't know. So I get confused. I don't know if the number changes because I don't call it.
And it gets worse every week.
Okay.
I really do get worse every week. And I'm okay with that, to be honest with you.
How was your week?
It was good. You know, I don't know. Oh, no, you were here for it. Who else wasn't here? Oh, that's right. Sacco didn't come in for the interview.
Oh, he didn't?
We had.
You know what's weird is we didn't even miss him because we sounded freaking awesome.
We always miss Sacco when he's not here.
I was training
to get our sound better. Improved soundboard this week, so Sacco's working on tweaking that and making us sound all purty. And
you can't do that. You can't have a southern drawl
with my Boston accent.
It just doesn't work.
So did we not kind of have a cool and surreal thing happen to us this week?
We did.
We, you know, it's one of those things where you never think anyone appreciates the show, wants to hear more about the show. Like, I talk about it to friends, and they're like, oh, good, he's on about this again. And, yeah, great, you do a show, and you have 5 people that listen, which we had 10 last week, so he's way off.
Yeah, like, missed it by half.
But a good friend of ours, John Grant, had us on his show, the 405 Radio, and did an interview with us.
I really enjoyed
hanging out with
on John's show.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. I really did.
It was a 30-minute interview, kind of talked about the show, gave our thoughts on what's going on with the Second Amendment, which we will get into later tonight, and just the show in general. And Tami Jackson, who's also on the 405 network over there, joined us for it was a lot of fun. It was a good back and forth, but it was nice to actually – it was weird but nice to talk about what we do versus talk about what other people are doing, if that makes sense. Because normally that's all we do is talk about what politicians are screwing up in this country left and right. And we were able to talk about what we screw up left and right on our show. So that was a lot of fun.
I'm so confused.
Why?
Right now, because what is that shirt you're wearing? Seriously, do they make one for men? What is that? I think I saw that in my grandmother's closet.
Thanks.
Seriously.
Thanks. You know?
You're welcome.
I try
your
to...
shoes. Dude, penny loafers. Really? What is this?
Well, my boat shoes are getting resold. What's wrong with this?
This is horrible.
It's sky blue.
You know what? We're going to have to go from sack heads to sack. I'm just going to
come
put
on.
paper sack. And
we agreed we're going to try to, dress it up a little bit in studio so when the video camera comes in.
Okay, powder blue went out like...
Dude, I'm telling you right now.
No ruffles? Really?
When I went to TJ Maxx in '98, these things are all over the shelves. They were right next to their members-only jacket.
Maybe in
I got one of these, a members-only,
right,
and a pair of K-Swiss.
Problem is you're not a member.
Well, that's why I got rid of my Ferrari jacket.
Got it.
So if you get a chance, you should. Our interview was up. Have a listen to it. It'll kind of introduce you to John and Tami too. we had a great time. Can't thank them enough for having us on.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was a pleasure. I hope we get a chance to do that again sometime. And you and I talked. We'd love to have each of them
on the show,
on our show,
absolutely,
and have a conversation with them. So,
and there's a lot of smart people over there on the 405 radio. They do a really good job. A lot of interesting, different views of conservatism, which is sometimes good. They talk about a lot of different things. It's just a good time. So if you have a chance, check them out.
I'm maybe losing my voice. I've been yelling a lot this week.
Why?
Just because.
Oh, I didn't even announce we have a giveaway tonight.
We do?
We're doing a giveaway tonight.
Okay, so that's fine. I can only travel so far, so it's not that one that we discussed.
No, I should probably push this out on Twitter at some point. But no, so we're going to do at the top of the hour. We're going to do, or not the top of the hour, at top of our hour, around 11:30 or so. As soon as we come back from the 11:30 break, we're going to do a little bit of trivia, hosted by you. You're the brains of the operation. And we're going to give away some Sackheads pens, some Sackheads stress balls.
Swag. Just say swag.
Just swag.
That's
bottle openers.
Swag. Now we need a high five over the microphones.
Hey.
Nailed it.
All right, good job. And then, we also have like a keychain light in there. We got some good stuff, magnets. So, we'll give away a prize pack, maybe even a signed Sackhead photo number 2.
Can we can't give away a gun, right?
We can't.
Kind of ban against that.
I'm not giving any away right now anyhow because who knows when we're going to get it back.
No, you won't.
What do you mean?
I mean
exactly. I'll never get it back. So I'm not giving one away. Is what I'm getting at.
Excuse me. This was an interesting week.
This was a really interesting week.
We had Hillary on the Hill, and that was interesting to say the least. I'm kind of curious to see how that whole thing's going to play out.
Yeah.
And I also would like to talk about kind of thoughts on if you think or if anybody thinks that this is going to affect her bid for the White House in 2016. I don't think it's any secret that she's going to make a run for it. At least the indications seem to be that. And
right.
Biden's also interested from some of those statements he made on the campaign trail, like, hey, just remember me in 2016. Good luck running against the sackhead Clint. But
yeah, no, you'll never win that battle.
Yeah, no, nailed it. But I'm curious to see what this is going to do for her because the media is really, it seems like they're giving her a pass.
Well, yeah,
on a lot of
because
stuff.
she works for the administration, so they always get a pass.
I mean, it doesn't seem like they're giving her a pass. They are giving her a pass.
Yeah, they're totally giving her a pass.
And even really kind of championed her with some of her responses.
Yeah, and I have a couple of those when we get into it. I just think it's amazing.
Let's get into it. We're here. Let's just go.
The first one,
commit.
And this was early, and this is her during the questioning and her giving her kind of breakdown as to how she felt about the entire thing, and this is her.
And
no, go ahead.
Well, really? Wow.
Go, I'm letting you talk. I was going to start it. Come on.
Okay, thanks.
Come on. Professional radio.
Move it.
Let's go.
We sound real professional.
Right now, yeah, we're all over it.
Great. She was out for a while because that concussion. Why is it an NFL quarterback or player can have a concussion and be back like in 7 days, ready to just get lit up again, and it takes her how many weeks to where she can even talk? I don't get it.
And it's not like she doesn't have some of the best doctors in the world at hand to help her out. But
well, now healthcare is a law, so maybe the quality of healthcare is deteriorated a little bit.
No, because even when that law kicks in fully, they don't have to be on it.
Oh, they don't?
No, they have their own.
Oh, never mind.
Right.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I don't understand either. I thought it was kind of funny that all of a sudden, like, she had a concussion and then she can't go sit in front of a room full of people. And listen, it's not like she did everything from memory. It was all prepared documents.
Right.
Anyhow.
And let's face it, how screwed up is the situation that they say, hey, well, you have a concussion because we're going to need a lot of time to put this together.
Yeah.
Because you are screwed.
Yeah, well, and I kind of asked, too, if
you asked.
Yeah, I asked myself. I said,
okay, self?
Did Obama kind of throw her under the bus on this? Is it one of those things where I kind of thought maybe he would have came out before then and kind of said, hey, you know what, Hillary's going to testify, but you know what, this is kind of what we knew, or at least something from his office, kind of letting her off the hook, knowing that she's going to run in 2016. And, it doesn't seem like it happened. So there's your not war on women, quote, war on women, because I think he sent her to the wolves, is my personal opinion.
They had kind of a nasty primary.
Yeah.
When they ran against each other, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's still not a huge fan. So let's get into the clips.
All right, so that's the first one that everyone talked about. This is her getting upset while she's reading her pieces.
While she's eating her Reese's Pieces.
For me, this is not just a matter of policy. It's personal. I stood next to President Obama as the Marines carried those flag-draped caskets off the plane at Andrews. I put my arms around the mothers and fathers, the sisters and brothers, the sons and daughters, and the wives left alone to raise their children. It has been one of the great honors of my life to lead the men and women of the State Department and USAID. Nearly 70,000 serving here in Washington, more than 270 posts around the world. They get up and go to work every day, often in difficult and dangerous circumstances, because they believe, as we believe, the United States is the most extraordinary force for peace and progress the world has ever known.
Okay. I have a couple issues with this. I understand that she's upset, and I'm not saying that she didn't legitimately grieve about the lost lives, and I'm not debating that. I
don't know whether she did or didn't.
I'll give her that at face value, though.
Okay.
I will absolutely say that. But to say that she stood there as the Marines, and she did stand there as the Marines came and the flag drapes coffins came in, but how many other Americans overseas have come home that way? It's not unique to her. So, that kind of bothered me because, you know what, and unfortunately it happens all the time.
Here's what bothered me about that is I felt as if, because Obama talked about this too, remember in the debates when Governor Romney was kind of pushing him on what happened in Benghazi, and he hid behind the flag-draped caskets in the family. And here she is up against a tough set of hearings in the House and the Senate, and she has to now remind people that, well, I had to stand there. Poor me, I'm a victim because I had to stand there while these flag-draped caskets come in and they were offloaded. Guess what? People have to see things and deal with that type of thing all the time. Look at our first responders, fire personnel, police personnel, military personnel that have to grieve for their lost comrades, or people that they're dealing with. And I almost feel like, who are you to put this up and kind of throw this out there like you're a victim because you had to see these caskets?
Right.
You know what? You're a politician. Maybe go into the trenches. Maybe if you were in the trenches and you were seeing the bodies, or if you actually had to carry an American who'd been killed or maimed or injured, and you actually had to deal with that loss right there as it happened, instead of after the fact when they're in a casket covered with a flag and being carried off by other military personnel. And I almost felt like she was using it as a shield, or as a moment to kind of keep the wolves at bay, because now if they attack her, well, look how mean they are, because here's this crying individual who's so emotionally distraught, and the mean Republicans are coming after her. That's how I felt they took it. And same with Obama during the debate with Romney. As soon as he brought that out, it really kind of threw Romney off and really took a lot of the wind out of his sails.
Yeah.
And kind of got the crowd a little empathetic. And I think it's disgusting that if that's the way it was used, it kind of disgusts me.
It's the equivalent of like dragging out 4 kids after a tragedy when you're signing a gun control bill. You're standing on the graves, and Ben Shapiro said this to Piers Morgan, that he does it, and I agree, and I think the administration's doing this a little bit. You're standing on these graves, waving your banner and using it to an advantage versus respecting the fallen ones. And she says she was all upset. What about the people that were asking for help when all this was going on.
The heroes?
Right. How do you think they felt when help wasn't coming and they're being shot at and killed, and Ambassador Stevens is literally suffocating, from the best that we can tell, to death? How do you think they felt? You know, I understand that she's upset, but don't sit there and try to make yourself the victim when you were a couple thousand miles away knowing what was going on, for the most part that we can tell. That really aggravated me. Like I said, I'm not alleging that she didn't grieve. I believe that she did. If she said that she did, I think that would be a natural human response.
It is, but I guess my question is, the timing of that statement and bringing that up has me questioning the motive of that statement. Does that make sense?
Yes. No,
not her emotion, not anything like that. I mean, I don't know whether she grieved or not. I don't know her. So I have to accept she says she grieved. Okay, she grieved. But I have to question why she brings up that she grieved and the emotion involved in greeting those people when she brought that up, especially given the fact that it's almost a replay and a recounting of what President Obama said during the debates with Romney. It'd be different if just one of them said it, or if she just said it, Obama didn't, but they both said the same thing. Flag draped coffin. I had to greet the flag draped coffins at Andrews Air Force Base as the families were carrying off. It almost seems like, I mean, they were very similar statements,
right,
made at very similar times, which kind of has me scratching my head, saying, "Huh." And if that's the case,
it's almost
I
like
think
it was
that's
set up.
disgusting. Right, prepared.
No, I agree. So, moving on, she does go from getting choked up to being upset, and I believe this is a conversation with Representative Johnson.
People have accused Ambassador Rice and the administration of, misleading Americans. I can say, trying to be in the middle of this and understanding what was going on, nothing could be further from the truth. Was information developing? Was the situation fluid? Would we reach conclusions later that weren't reached initially? And I appreciate
Madam Secretary, do you disagree with me that a simple phone call to those evacuees to determine what happened wouldn't have ascertained immediately that there was no protest? I mean, that was a piece of information that could have been easily obtained.
Well, but Senator,
within hours, if not days.
Senator, when you're in these positions, the last thing you want to do is interfere with any other process going on.
I realize that's a good excuse.
Number two, no, it's the fact. Number two, I would recommend highly you read both what the ARB said about it and the classified ARB, because even today there are questions being raised. Now, we have no doubt they were terrorists, they were militants, they attacked us, they killed our people. But what was going on and why they were doing what they were doing?
No. Again, we were misled that there was supposedly protests and then something sprang out of that, an assault sprang out of that. And that was easily ascertained that was not the fact. And the American people could have known that within days, and they didn't know that.
With all due respect, the fact is we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make? It is our job to figure out what happened and do everything we can to prevent it from ever happening again, Senator. Now, honestly, I will do my best to answer your questions about this, but the fact is that people were trying in real time to get to the best information. The IC has a process, I understand, going with the other committees to explain how these talking points came out. But to be clear, it is, from my perspective, less important today, looking backwards, as to why these militants decided they did it, than to find them and bring them to justice. And then maybe we'll figure out what was going on in the meantime.
Okay.
I knew you were going to have a field day with this one.
Yeah. Why is it important? What does it matter? We have 4 dead Americans. At what point, what does this matter? It matters because we need to prevent this from happening again. Let's look at the Middle East, particularly North Africa right now. And it has become so destabilized in the last 4 years or so that it literally is a playground for terrorists. And I'll tell you something. I believe that this administration's policies and this administration's foreign policy have directly impacted that area and has directly or indirectly caused, facilitated, or allowed the destabilization in that region to where now we're having these types of issues. And, Madam Secretary, that's why it's important. That would have been my answer, but I'm not a politician. Look, we have, the president was Arab Spring, it's so awesome, right? Egypt, so awesome, Arab Spring. We need to get this nasty dictator out. Even though, guess what? Egypt used to provide a stabilizing force in that region, yes, and was a good ally of the United States, regardless of what was happening within their borders. And, Mr. President, your policies have destabilized that. Your support for these other regimes have destabilized that area and has led to this type of environment where these types of attacks can happen. That's why. And, Madam Secretary, if you can't see why that's important, then perhaps it's better you don't return as Secretary of State, and I would urge you not to consider a run for the presidency in 2016.
Well, and she says, what difference does it make if it was some protest or – so there's the video again.
Right.
Or some guys going for a walk that decided to kill Americans.
Because that happens all the time.
I love how she tried to curb it away from what it was, a coordinated attack on the compound. So don't try to throw that out there to kind of insinuate that, hey, you know what, this wasn't really like all that organized, blah, 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 blah.
And then to say that, we know it was a terrorist attack.
Right. We obviously, the whole point of this, and that's what she says, we have to get down to what caused this. The whole point of these hearings is to figure out what caused it. The thing they're going after is, where did your department fail? Mm-hmm. Not why they were attacked. We know why they were attacked, because they're anti-Americans. They wanted to kill us. They wanted to prove a point, just like a lot of other countries do and a lot of people in other countries do. There's a little group called Al-Qaeda that's been doing that for a few years now.
I haven't heard. Were they on American Idol or something?
Okay. Right, they're the new kid on the block, so to speak.
Okay.
What's important and what these hearings are set up for is to find out where the State Department failed. Did it fail prior? Did it fail during? And how did it fail after?
And how do we prevent that?
And how do we prevent that from coming again? But it's the failures we're focusing on, not the cause. We already know what the cause is. It's kind of obvious at this point. We knew back then it wasn't a video. It wasn't the protest to that Wingnuts video. It had nothing to do with that. Everyone knew that. It wasn't a big shock. Even though she said at one point I didn't send Susan Rice out there to push that video and those things. I think it was like 3 days later on the North Lawn or whatever it was during the press conference, the president stood right there and blamed the video, and she didn't pipe up and go, oh, no, wait, we didn't know that happened, even though they've testified now that they did know the video had nothing to do with it. So she lied there.
The president.
Right. But she said we or I didn't send. I know the president sent out Ambassador Rice because, for whatever reason, I think he wanted to use a new soft face so she'd get sympathy from the press. Amazingly, it happened.
Way to destroy her career.
Yeah, seriously. So the fact that she did a whole fist pounding and all that stuff, and it doesn't matter. It does matter. Stop trying to curb it. And somebody in our chat room brought this up. Stop dodging the direct question.
Well, yeah. Look, she's an attorney. Did we forget this? She's an attorney.
No, I didn't forget.
And what do you do? What do you do in court when a court case is not going your way, or when the facts do not substantiate your position?
You twist it.
You twist it. You curb it. You get angry and indignant, and you try and shift it away, and you try and control the conversation.
Right. And you try to gather sympathy for your client. In this case, the State Department was what she was doing. Is trying to gather sympathy.
Look, I would have more respect if she were to say, if this were true, if she were to come out and say, hey, you know what? I was responsible because I was the head. I've identified gaps because I did not get the information in a timely manner. The request for security was this way. We've identified that. We've taken steps to rectify that situation. However, here's what we knew, and continue on from there. Take responsibility. Actually give an honest assessment and honest answers to these committees, but also talk about maybe how you fix this. Things that are saying, well, hey, I'm not responsible for reviewing security requests. well, hey, maybe you should be now. Right? Maybe you shouldn't have been then, but, hey, if we learned from it, tell us how you learned from it, and let's move on from there. And the purpose of these hearings is, maybe we're not out to, headhunt, but we want to figure it out so that this doesn't happen again. We can't do that unless you're honest with us. And, do you care about your country? Do you care about saving more American lives? Or do you care about looking good politically? And I think we got an answer.
We surely have an answer. So there's another clip. It's about 6 minutes long, so I'm going to hold it for after the break. Listen, we all know going into it that she wasn't going to give the answers we're looking for. And that's kind of obvious now. I was hoping that we would actually get some sort of exact resolve as to what was going on. Like you said, I wish you went up there and, hey, we screwed up. This is where we screwed up. This is a huge, there were huge breakdowns and everything. But this is what we're doing to prevent it from happening in the future. That would have been huge. So before we go into the break, a good friend of ours who was actually on with us the other night, Tami J. Tami Jackson, at Tami J, Tami, on Twitter. She's on the 405 radio. She works on the Hugh Hewitt show. Tami, where else everyone can find you anywhere, right?
Seems like it. I have a website, rightvoicemedia.com, and I work for Kevin Jackson, who's a radio talk show host, and do my little show and so forth. So, yeah, I heard you.
You're kind of a big deal, Tami. Just say that. Hey, look, you can find me anywhere. I'm kind of a big deal. That's all you have to say.
I'm a big deal, but very short. I'm a small person. Well, you started playing Hillary, and it was like a dog whistle, speaking of those sort of things, because I've done a lot of research into Benghazi and had written a lot of articles and things with big-time research prior to the election. And what's really interesting is State Department knew this. Hillary knew this. This is another liar, liar, pants on fire moment, because over the 15 months prior to the attack on 9/11, there had been 230 attacks against U.S. and ally installments in Libya, 48 of those against Benghazi. So they knew that they were being targeted. They had requests for more security all the time. And yet on 9/11, we're to believe that it's this obscure video that had been in the interwebs for 6 months. No way. Everybody else in the world knows 9/11, we should be on high alert, and Sex State is doing nothing. And, okay, you guys may not know this. This is some inside baseball that I know because I have some buddies that are retired military intel, and they have friends that are still in intel. And so the way all the comms go over there, when something breaks out like that, they've got 3 minutes to get it to their official comm center. That comm center has 30 minutes to get it to the White House. And the White House Situation Room had it within 30 minutes. They knew what was going on within 30 minutes. They watched for 7 hours and did nothing, nothing.
We knew they watched because there was a video of the president in the sit-rep room.
Yeah.
And they knew they were watching. They had the drone up.
Yep.
I think the first one was the unarmed drone, or maybe the first one was the armed drone with the camera, and then that allegedly ran out of gas, and then they had to put up the other one. So we knew they had an idea what was going on. And they, like you said, the first 33 minutes of the attack, they may not have known the kickoff of it, but they have to know when you turn on the video 33 minutes into it, and there's 75, 100, or even more people standing on your consulate pulling the flag down. You have to realize this wasn't some unorganized. Oh, and your consulate's burning. There's still gunfire going on.
Yeah,
we have a set of Navy SEALs that are holed up in a position trying to call in an airstrike. You have to. I don't care who you are. You don't have to be a president or some great intelligence person. When that comes up on the screen, you have to go. They're in trouble, and this went really bad, and this wasn't some just dumb luck attack on the consulate.
You have fast movers. You have fast movers in Europe who can be. You have fighter jets in Europe who can be on station within an hour. We know that Fox News got that report that the U.S. Marines had part of a fleet anti-terrorism security team, their FAST team, who was going to be responding to Libya right away. The State Department ordered them to change out of their military uniforms, and they had to deplane, get into their civilian garb, and then replan again, delaying their response by 90 minutes.
And they were worried that if they landed, it would look bad politically.
Oh, well, and I guarantee you, I'm going to say this, and this is like pulling no punches, but I would guarantee that a lot of those people, Hillary said she was crying when those bodies came in. I know that Ty Woods' dad forgives her, but I know that there are a lot of military people that did not want them there. And this is another little interesting story. I've run into so many people because of my website and interviews and different things, and I love this. I love meeting people. I met a guy, talked to him at length, who was the number 1 or number 2 sniper in the Vietnam War, and he's known across the U.S. He has guns named after him. He trains SWAT teams and everything. And he was supposed to get a Congressional Medal of Honor, and he told me that he told the congressperson to take it and put it where the sun doesn't shine because he didn't want it. I said, you didn't want a Congressional Medal of Honor? He said, Tam, you know who would have to give it to me? It'd be the commander-in-chief, and if I was that close to him that he could give me a medal, he goes, there's no telling what I'd do. I'd at least punch him in the nose. And I'm, and that's a Vietnam vet, let alone current vets. And you guys and me, we know that W spent more than he should. He wasn't as conservative probably as we wanted, but by golly, that guy loved the troops and understood them and honored them, and they loved him back. And like a friend of mine said, good grief, if this had been going on and it had been on W's watch, if he had to, hell, he would have gotten in a jet himself and flown to get those guys. He wouldn't have let this occur. He would have done everything in his power to stop it. And, Obama didn't, and Hillary did not.
Yeah, no, I think everyone knows that. I don't think it matters which conservative in office, and some Democratic presidents even maybe it would have been handled differently. But you know what? They're so worried about this world image and how we look at the world stage and blah blah that I'm sure that played an influence. Well, I think one of the countries complained that if we flew over, they'd go to the UN. Great, go to the UN.
Go to the UN.
Fine. We don't care.
I have no tolerance for the UN.
No, nobody does, and that's a totally different show. But hey, Tami, we're up against a break. We're actually running late. Do you want to stay on the line?
Sure. Why not?
All right, I'll throw you on hold, and we'll go from there. We'll be back in a minute with Sackheads Radio.
Hey, guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I want to talk to you a minute about our friends over at HomefrontHugs.com. They're an amazing organization of volunteers who take their time, effort, and money to take care of our troops overseas as they serve our great nation. HomefrontHugs.com. You can donate, write letters to troops, adopt a troop, you name it, you can do it. Help those wonderful folks who protect our freedoms. Go to HomefrontHugs.com. Tell them Sackheads Radio sent you.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank all the wingnut leaders throughout the world to give our men and women of the armed forces a job, as well as all the anarchists, terrorists, and Occupy folks that give our men and women in uniform on the home front, firefighters, law enforcement personnel, and first responders, job security here in the States as well. So thank all you wingnuts out there. This is Sackhead Clint saying have a good day.
Hi, this is Sarah Marie Brenner. We often talk on the Brenner Brief about the fact that there really needs to be an organization to help people at the local level who are interested in running for things like school board, city council, and other local offices. Well, I think I finally have the solution for you, at least for you women out there. It's called Politigal Network, Politigal Network.com. Their website's going to be launching mid-August, but they're already on Twitter at PoliticalUSA. I encourage you to follow them and become a member. Their goal is to be the #1 resource for conservative women. So if you love freedom, liberty, the United States of America, and politics, check out PoliticalNetwork.com or Twitter at PoliticalUSA.
Hey guys, do you like our news briefs? better yet, do you like the amazing voice that does our news brief? Do you need some audio work done? Check out PlatinumVocalCords.com. Our friend Vanessa has years of broadcast experience. She's an absolute professional. She'll work with you, get the sound exactly how you'd want it. So go to PlatinumVocalCords.com. Tell them Sackheads Radio sent you. Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I know I've said it before. Check out our friends at conservativeoutcry.net, but I really mean it. If you want interesting and exciting political commentary and analysis, that is the place to get it. Different, always spot on, always truthful, never pulling a punch. conservativeoutcry.net. Tell Rooster to get Bulldog back on and that Sackheads Radio sent you. And also, coming soon, the Sackheads Radio Forum on conservativeoutcry.net.
This is Sal from New York. Please listen to Sackheads Radio.
Sal! Hey, I don't know if you can tell, but I got my rally hat on right now. I don't know what I'm rallying for, but it's something.
And we are back on the Sackheads Radio Show. On the line with us is our very special guest, Tami Jackson. Tami, thanks for sticking with us. We appreciate you. You are more like a guest than a caller, just so you know.
Oh, thanks. I got to hear some cool commercials there.
Hey, you know, actually, I was supposed to put you in our special relaxation sound room while we were in the break, but I screwed it up as always.
Not only that, but we don't have one of those, so.
Yeah, I thought I'd get to be in a green room with some wine or something, you know. But
absolutely, that's usually where I spend the whole show, Tami.
And it'd probably be beer, just saying.
Yeah, beer. Yeah, of course, some ale. Hey, you know, when I think of Hillary, though, I keep thinking of one word, obfuscate. Because all she does is, you know, there's big straw mans, and, you know, I'm getting back to the Hillary subject because I just cannot get over her. The media, they put her out there like this poor, crying, cackling woman. And also, are we agreed that anyone that cackles the way she does should not be a candidate for president? There's no cackling in politics.
I'm pretty sure there's a rule somewhere. It may even be a federal law that if you cackle, you have to wear a pointy hat and stir a cauldron.
It's almost like
I'm not sure.
It's almost like saying to the first lady you shouldn't roll your eyes at the Speaker of the House. I mean,
oh wait, that happened too. Never mind. You know, wasn't that her in that broom commercial? Right? Like in a broom factory or something? Was that her?
No, I loved Hillary when she was on Bewitched. I really...
You know,
she was almost attractive then, wasn't she?
No, I was talking... She played the stepmother there. Or the mother. I think that was her with all the extra on.
I thought she was Mr. Ed. I'm thinking of a different show, though.
Oh, my goodness.
So we're back talking Benghazi with Tami J. We are simulcasting tonight at the 405radio.com as well as the Sackheads Radio Show. So I think the best part about this, and, you know, Rand Paul, I have to adjust my accent so people know which one, not the seniors, the son.
Well, usually you would say Dr. Paul.
Dr. Paul.
If you were talking about his father.
Yeah, not the loony one.
Right.
I like
the one that really pretty much makes sense.
Hey, you know what? Dr. Paul, you know what? I can't say that because it'll give away our trivia that's coming up here in about 22 minutes. Listen,
are there prizes?
Yes,
there are. Nothing great, but yeah, the prizes.
Not everything Dr. Paul did I agreed with, but at least the man had new ideas. And some of them were good, some of them were not.
They weren't new ideas. They were old ideas. They were enshrined in the Constitution.
Seriously. Well, that's for the current generation of politicians. Those are new ideas. They're so crazy and outside the box that they'll never work again.
The Constitution, isn't that, according to Obama, that's that living document that we have to reinvent for every new crisis.
Yeah, it's a document of negative liberties.
Yes.
Because it says what the government can't do to you, but not what it has to do for you.
I know. Right? It kind of reins them in a little bit too much. They don't really like that.
Right. No, we can't. Listen, how are we supposed to impose tyranny upon the poor defenseless masses if we're chained by this document?
Well, fortunately, I think we have him. Hold on.
Wait, is he coming?
Mr. President, is that him? Wait, no, that wasn't him. I thought it was him. One of these days, I'm going to play that, and he's going to walk in this room.
That was like that Looney Tunes episode, right, where the king or whatever, the music plays, and it rolls out, and it's Bugs Bunny.
And somebody's out in front throwing, leaves or rose petals on the road or something before Caesar.
How did we lose it again?
We do this. To get back up. Good news is it's our show, so
it is our show, and we can do whatever we want. So for the rest of the night, I'm just going to sing songs.
I'm going to pour a shot right now.
The most interesting part, in Rand Paul, who is, I think, going to start pushing to make bigger runs here shortly, went after, and the whole exchange, I was going to try to chop it up to try to break it down, but
it doesn't do it justice.
It doesn't do it justice, so we're going to play the whole 6-minute, 7-second clip. This is Secretary Clinton and Rand Paul and their exchange, and just listen.
No one was fired. We spent trillions of dollars, but there were a lot of human errors. These are judgment errors, and the people who make judgment errors need to be replaced, fired, and no longer in a position of making these judgment calls. So we have a review board. Review board finds 64 different things that we can change. A lot of them are common sense and should be done, but the question is, it's a failure of leadership that they weren't done in advance, and 4 lives were cost because of this. I'm glad that you're accepting responsibility. I think that ultimately with your leaving, you accept the culpability for the worst tragedy since 9/11, and I really mean that. Had I been president at the time, and I found that you did not read the cables from Benghazi, you did not read the cables from Ambassador Stevens, I would have relieved you of your post. I think it's inexcusable. The thing is that, we can understand that you're not reading every cable. I can understand that maybe you're not aware of the cable from the ambassador in Vienna that asked for $100,000 for an electrical charging station. I can understand that maybe you're not aware that your department spent $100,000 on 3 comedians who went to India on a promotional tour called Make Chi Not War. But I think you might be able to understand and might be aware of the $80 million spent on a consulate in Mashar al-Sharif that will never be built. I think it's inexcusable that you did not know about this and that you did not read these cables. I would think by anybody's estimation, Libya has to have been one of the hottest of hot spots around the world. Not to know of the request for securities really, I think, cost these people their lives. Their lives could have been saved had someone been more available, had someone been aware of these things, more on top of the job. And the thing is I don't suspect you of bad motives. The review board said, well, these people weren't willfully negligent. I don't think you were willfully. I don't suspect your motives of wanting to serve your country, but it was a failure of leadership not to be involved. It was a failure of leadership not to know these things. And so I think it is good that you're accepting responsibility because no one else is. And there is a certain amount of culpability to the worst tragedy since 9/11, and I'm glad you're accepting this. Now, my question is the U.S. involved with any procuring of weapons, transfer of weapons, buying, selling, anyhow transferring weapons to Turkey out of Libya?
To Turkey? I will have to take that question for the record. Nobody's ever raised that with me.
It's been in news reports that ships have been leaving from Libya and that they may have weapons. And what I'd like to know is the annex that was close by, were they involved with procuring, buying, selling, obtaining weapons? And were any of these weapons being transferred to other countries, any countries, Turkey included?
Well, Senator, you'll have to direct that question to the agency that ran the annex. And I will see what information is available. And
you're saying you don't know?
I do not know. I don't have any information on that. And with respect to personnel, Senator, first, that's why we have independent people who review the situation, as we did with the Pickering and Mullen ARB, and all 4 individuals identified in the ARB have been removed from their job. Secondly, they've been placed on administrative leave while we step through the personnel process to determine the next steps. Third, both Ambassador Pickering and Admiral Mullen specifically highlighted the reason why this is complicated, because under federal statute and regulations,
Unsatisfactory leadership is not grounds for finding a breach of duty. The ARB did not find these 4 individuals breached their duty. So I have submitted legislation to this committee, to the Congress, to fix this problem so future ARBs will not face the situation.
But here's the problem. The review board has all these recommendations, but there's one thing they failed to address, and I think you've failed to address, and it sets us up for another tragedy like this. They should have never been sent in there without a military guard. This should have been an embassy like in Baghdad in a war zone, and it should have been under military guard, significant military guard, Defense Department command. I don't think the State Department's capable of being in the war zone and protecting these people. I still don't think that. I think another tragedy could happen. I think another tragedy could happen in another war zone around the world. I think someone needs to make an executive decision. Someone needs to take leadership, and with that leadership should be that you shouldn't send them in with no Marines. You shouldn't send them in with Marines that are to guard records, not people. You shouldn't send them in with the same kind of ambassador or embassy staff that you have in Paris. I think that's inexcusable.
Well, Senator, the reason I'm here today is to answer questions the best I can. I am the Secretary of State, and the ARB made very clear that the level of responsibility for the failures that they outlined was set at the Assistant Secretary level and below. The administration has sent officials to the Hill more than 30 times. We've given as much information. We've been as transparent as we can. Obviously, we will continue to brief you and others to answer any and all questions that you have about going forward. The reason we put into effect an accountability review board is to take it out of the heat of politics and partisanship and accusations and to put it in the hands of people who have no stake in the outcome. The reason I said make it open, tell the world, is because I believe in transparency. I believe in taking responsibility, and I have done so. And I hope that we're going to be able to see a good working relationship between the State Department and the committee going forward.
Thank you. Senator Murphy.
Of course you want a good working relationship. I like how on one hand she says, look, we're being as transparent as we can. Huh? I don't even know what that means.
Right.
You're either transparent or you're not.
Well, we're being as transparent as we can. She put the emphasis on the wrong syllable. That was very specific. We're being as transparent as we can. I think it's amazing that she talked about, we're going to put this in the hands of people, not partisan, not the silly Congress. Why would we even talk to them? It's all partisan BS. We're going to put this in the hands that are not partisan to look into this. You mean the hand-pointed people or the hand-selected people from the president or you to look into this and then come up with a determination? That's not partisan? The bipartisan committee is not partisan. And, yes, people will make their political points, and I believe that some of them, like Rand Paul, the Senator Paul made there, need to be made.
Yep, they do. Hey, you guys, I've got a couple really good quotes. Would you allow me to use them?
Well, yeah. Well,
Of
course.
Okay, these are from two really, really good friends of mine. But the first is from Major General Lee Rogers. He said, and this is concerning the installment itself over there that had basically mall security. And we have we had all these valued Americans there in this hostile area in just this little podunk post with mall security. So General Lee Rogers said, our diplomatic compounds overseas are, by tradition and international law, sovereign soil. An attack on the consulate is no different than an attack in Denver. It is the responsibility of DOS to determine the security needs of our people. And then my good buddy Al Oconson, who is a U.S. Coast Guard vet and a lawyer, summed it up this way about the security there. The jihadists respect strength and the willingness to use it. They regard weakness as provocation. Had our diplomats in Libya been visibly defended by U.S. Marines behind thick walls topped with concertina wire, they would be alive today. If we decide to plop an embassy or consulate down on their turf, we are obligated to make it as unappealing a target as we can. That's done both immediately and obviously with troops, weapons, wires, and gradually and implicitly through our civilian leadership's policy of military strength and overwhelming retaliation when attacked. Both of those guys get it right. Hillary, Obama, and state, they don't get it.
Well, and we talked to that before, that, if you do an attack on a consulate or an embassy, you're attacking American soil. Why do you think they wanted this to be a ragtag group of people that just showed up and happened to get mad about a movie and storm? Because then you could say, well, this isn't like a military action from anyone inside of Libya. This is just some group of screwballs. That's why they started pushing that away.
Well, it is a group of screwballs. Let's be real.
No, it is a group of screwballs.
They are pretty much screwballs.
Yeah, it is.
But that's their whole point on that, is if we say that it's just a group of people that got mad at this video and they're not any sort of militants, they're just a group of regular.
But they can't have it. They can't have it the other way, because Osama has been killed. Right? Terrorism's done. We won.
Right.
So we won the Arab Springs there.
They needed it to be just some random group of guys that got together and decided to storm. They needed that because terrorism has been dead. We heard that going into the election how many times? Chevy is alive and Osama bin Laden is dead. So they had to push that narrative. And somebody said, hey, we have this video. And then Ambassador Rice went on and admittedly, knowingly, that she was wrong, saying over and over again on 5 different morning talk shows. So
you mean lying? You can say it. Don't be shy. You can just say lying.
Lying and terrorism. We can say these words. And the horrible thing is that there are 11,500 U.S. diplomats and people working in installments around the world that now think, okay, who has our back? If they're not going to protect our guys and they don't come to the rescue of them, how are we safe? What's up with us?
They know the answer to that. Listen, though, you can rest assured $100,000 for an electrical recharge in Italy went. That got sent over. Those comedians went and made She Not War over in India. So that's $200,000 that could have went to saving lives. The $80 million for this consulate that'll never get used. That's money. Listen, we all know what the BS is here, and we all know that they knew this attack was going on. But this is going to show nobody's taking the fall for this except for a couple people that we'll never know about. Oh, this person, they're looking at this person for discipline. This person didn't pass the message along the right way. But it's not the people in charge that are taking the fall. And, that's the thing that bothers me on this is it's not the president going out there saying, hey, State Department screwed up. Hillary said, well, yeah, I can't read every cable that comes in. Okay, but you should have a list of important cables that, like, hey, if the consulate's getting attacked, or there's information that a consulate's going to get attacked, or if there's some dry runs, which they were, that's something you may want to let the boss in on. Don't make that decision yourself. I get paid the big bucks to make that decision, and none of that's going on right now. All they're doing is just they put her out there. She gave half-ass answers, most somewhat truths, kind of lies, just anything to spin this off. She's covering her ass because she wants to go in 4 years and run.
I don't think you realize how busy Hillary is. Do you have any idea how busy she is? She's got to keep an eye on Bill. I mean, seriously.
Well,
but we don't have a
Bernstein. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, but we don't have a Bernstein or Woodward these days. Like back when, there was Watergate. Okay, so that's just break-ins and lies and cover-ups. That's not lives that were killed or anything. And those guys wouldn't let it go until a president resigns and people went to prison. So now
now on this one,
mainstream media is just on board with Obama. He's their boy.
I'm going to start calling it
boy is the
media.
wrong term to use.
I know
my word.
I looked at Sean,
I'm in trouble now.
Whoa. Yeah, why are you so hateful?
And that's Tami Jackson. I've started calling them state media because that's what they are. They just regurgitate whatever.
They state whatever
he wants.
State.
They officially have him on whatever lines they want. Listen, he could go and say the sky's red, and mainstream media is going to go and say, hey, everyone, guess what? New law. The sky is now officially red.
The scientists have proven it.
Right,
because of the way the sun reflects off of, even though it looks blue, it's really
all
red.
Your eyes are wrong because Obama the first said
and
the sky is
backs
red.
it up.
Right.
We have some science to say. Tami, do you think You think we're going to see any impeachment proceedings out of this?
Oh, I'm sure not.
It has to originate in the House, but you think...
I'm sure not. And I really thought that we had a chance at winning the election, and then when that went south, I thought, there's just no hope that any impeachment things are going to come out of this. There's no hope that anybody is going to be. They're like the Teflon admin, and whether you're at the White House or state, nothing sticks to them. And a lot of it is because of the media. We don't have a bit, we've got Fox and we've got new media like this, and we've got the radio shows, but that's about all we've got. So the average schmo it turns on CBS and they hear that Obama is just doing famously. I have people tell me, yeah, the economy's doing well, and I think, gosh, how many people do you know that have lost their jobs? I lost my job last June, and thankfully, I rebounded and got into all these media things, and I'd been in a corporate job for 20 years, and it was because of the economy.
The economy's doing great if you're in green energy, you're married to a senator, or you happen to be really good friends with the president. Then your economy is absolutely fine.
Or if you're addicted to crack cocaine, methamphetamine, heroin,
right. Any of that
you don't want to get a job.
A-okay.
Or pot. Pot's the new thing now.
Well, that's medicine, though.
That's medicine.
So we don't want to disparage it.
Which it's funny because it's medicine that you don't need to go see a pharmacist to get. You go to a head shop. That's weird. Either way.
Have you been hearing all the new things about that, though? How they don't know what they're going to do when they pull people over? Do they arrest them because they smell like pot? Or
that's going to be such a headache. But that's a totally different argument. That's okay.
Such a headache.
I think the Republicans, I think what they want to do now is, going into the midterms, if they play their cards right, if they ride the fury of the right on the gun control and Benghazi, if they keep this alive and don't make any decisions before the midterms, if they can take the House, if they can take the Senate and hold the House, I bet you there'll be an impeachment. But they have to.
Well, the House has the impeachment. The Senate votes for the conviction.
Right.
So the House could impeach.
The House could impeach, but if you can get a Senate that will convict, then you have both sides. And I wonder if they're going to play the waiting game on this because they want it.
I got an idea. How's about some Democrats actually do the right thing?
That'll never happen.
And if the evidence is there, you convict.
Hey, I have an idea. Why don't I lose 40 pounds? But that's what should happen. But that's not what's going to happen. It's not the right thing to do in their eyes. You know what I mean?
Hey, I've been asked to help with the big Day of Resistance on February 23rd. Y'all heard about that?
No, why don't you tell us about it?
Well, it's growing like crazy. The Day of Resistance is going to be for gun owners and patriots. They're going to organize locally, but it's going to go across the nation like we had the Guns Across America a week or so ago. Well, this is going to be on the 23rd, which is very interesting. 223, get it? Like 223 caliber. Yeah, it's very clever. So, it's being organized.
I like where this is going.
Yeah, and so I told him I would help, and so the national guy that's coordinating this is going to be calling me, and we're going to be working on this. But, oh man, I would love to see more and more people out there, because if you all have been to gun shows lately, which I have, thousands of people out there. Thousands, and the NRA is growing by leaps and bounds. I'm an NRA member. I'm helping with the local Friends of the NRA big banquet here in the area this spring, and I think it's already sold out, and they're kind of big money tickets. So, it's going like crazy, because people, and they need to be seeing what's going on. They need to understand that this is kind of like the last stand, because if they take our guns, they can just do anything pretty much to an unprotected populace.
Hey, Tami, when you get the info on that, can you push it over to us so we can make sure that it's out there?
Yeah, I will. I want you guys to talk about it, and I'm going to get it out everywhere. I just think it ought to go viral. And people, we need to get everybody that, thinks anything of the Second Amendment, which should really be everybody. I don't care what your political affiliation is. It really should be.
It should be, but people have been taught and indoctrinated, and it's been watered down over the years. I would like it if it was on March 8th. I would think the date of 3/08 would be a little bit better, but I guess 2/3 works.
I like that.
Yeah. Maybe we can do a second one on March 8th, right around the corner. So we have to, and we're going to get into the Second Amendment and Feinstein's proposal when we get back from the break. We're up against a break.
Feinstein. What's the nickname for it?
Frankenstein.
Yeah.
That's my new nickname.
Diane
Frankenstein. I really wanted to have the Alice Cooper clip keyed up to play tonight, but I didn't get to it. I thought that would have been fantastic.
Slacker.
Before we go into the break, though, we're going to do our first Sackhead giveaway. Sackhead Clint, the House professor, is going to ask it a very important question.
I am?
Yeah.
No, I thought you were kidding.
No, you didn't have a question ready?
Oh yeah, it's okay.
Okay. So here's the rules. It's going to be the fifth caller. We're going to make sure they get the right answer off the air, and then we'll go from there.
Off the air?
Off the air.
This is going to be, and people are just going to Google it and be like, yeah, okay, great.
Well, then they'll still learn something.
That's a good point.
So go for it.
Go.
Okay, when is the last time?
Tammy, you can't answer.
Oh yeah, let her.
I probably can't. So.
When is the last time the United States issued letters of marque? It's still on the books, and I'll tell you, there is nothing in the constitutional record we've been able to find to be able to substantiate the claim that 1941, 1942, the Goodyear blimp Resolute actually had letters of marque issued. That is a rumor that's out there that you'll find, but that's unsubstantiated, and the president never signed any such order. So when was the last time that true letters of marque were issued by the United States? After the break.
We'll be right back on Sackheads Radio. Really, this time, we'll be right back.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
Hey folks, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank the men and women of our armed forces, as well as our first responders, law enforcement, firefighters, and emergency medical personnel. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for making this country and our communities a better and safer place. God bless.
Hi, this is Sarah Marie Brenner. You know, we often talk on the Brenner Brief about the fact that there really needs to be an organization to help people at the local level who are interested in running for things like school boards, city council, and other local offices. Well, I think I finally have the solution for you, at least for you women out there. It's called Politigal Network, Politigal Network.com. Their website's going to be launching mid-August, but they're already on Twitter at PoliticalUSA. I encourage you to follow them and become a member. Their goal is to be the #1 resource for conservative women. So if you love freedom, liberty, the United States of America, and politics, check out PoliticalNetwork.com or Twitter at PoliticalUSA.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I know I've said it before. Check out our friends at conservativeoutcry.net, but I really mean it. If you want interesting and exciting political commentary and analysis, that is the place to get it. Different, always spot on, always truthful, never pulling a punch. conservativeoutcry.net. Tell Rooster to get Bulldog back on and that Sackheads Radio sent you. And also, coming soon, the Sackheads Radio Forum on conservativeoutcry.net.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I want to talk to you a minute about our friends over at HomefrontHugs.com. They're an amazing organization of volunteers who take their time, effort, and money to take care of our troops overseas as they serve our great nation. HomefrontHugs.com. You can donate, write letters to troops, adopt a troop, you name it, you can do it. Help those wonderful folks who protect our freedoms. Go to HomefrontHugs.com. Tell them Sackheads Radio sent you.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank our men and women in uniform of the armed forces. Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank our men and women. Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank the men and women of our armed forces, as well as our... God.
You going to mention me this time?
Thank you, Sean. Good? You said mention you, right?
Oh.
You totally need to keep that as an outtake.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
So the question of the night was, when was the last time the United States issued a letter of marque? You can win a Sackhead swag bag. It has a bottle.
Don't tell them.
No. It's got a bunch of good. People want to know what's in it.
It's doing?
Listen, it's got pens, bottle openers, keychain lights, stress balls, magnets. You name it, we got it in there. So
Shotgun.
if you know the answer, give us what?
Shotgun.
It might be. Maybe that's the special gift. 347-205-9399 with the answer. On the phone is Tami Jackson. Tami, thank you so much for hanging out with us and providing your input on Benghazi. We really appreciate it. Why don't you tell everyone again where they can find you?
Yeah, I have a website. I have a wonderful partner who's a web designer, Michael Witham, but our site is rightvoicemedia.com, and it's fabulous. We have things on faith, politics, military, guns, stuff like that. Everything is original that's on there. And, yeah, I do all the editing. So all the graphics you see on there is done by yours truly. And it's a gorgeous, gorgeous site. Also, guys, I have to tell you, heads up, in this next year, I'm the new media and marketing person also for a film that's coming out called Ride the Thunder. It's a story of Vietnam, the Easter Offensive, John Ripley blowing of the bridge of Dong Ha. It's going to be a fabulous film, and I'm their marketing person. So I'll be giving you updates on that. But for all of us that really, really love the troops and everything they do, best forces in the world, I'm thrilled to be part of this because I have relatives, cousins of my mom that were in Nam, that were USMC in country, and to think that I could do something to restore honor to that conflict and to the people that fought there is a big thrill for me.
Well, outstanding. And we thank you very much for calling our show. It was a pleasure having you. And, we certainly appreciate the troops. Also, I also had family that served and know several people that served. And our thoughts and prayers go out to all of our military members and families. Tam, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was a pleasure having you.
Yep.
Hey, Tim,
okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. You guys carry on.
Sorry.
You got it. Take care, Tim.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so let's see. I'm trying to work this out because now I have what? You're looking at me like I'm crazy for.
You are crazy.
Well, that
shirt, dude. I can't get over it. I'm sorry.
We have an issue that I didn't even think about. So somebody is giving me an answer in the chat room.
Uh-huh.
And
is that a caller?
Right. Does this qualify?
How many answers have you had? Was that the fifth answer in the chat room?
Let me see. 1, 2. It's going to be close, but we'll need a ruling on it. I want to know what your ruling is. You're the rule master in all this. You spin the wheel of destiny. You come up with all the stuff.
I'll say yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
We're gonna need a way to get their information so we can send it to them though.
Absolutely, and I can do that in the chat room. Tom Simpson in the chat room, and I believe this is the right answer. Tell me if I'm wrong. Is it 1815?
Negative.
Oh, really?
Yeah, how many 1815 answers did you get?
Well, that's not important right now. What is important? I can't believe it was that first giveaway and I blew it. Sacco, screen 5 more for me, please.
Yeah, seriously?
Oh, I'm so sorry, folks. 347-205-9399. Listen, we're new at this. I've never done a giveaway before. The answer is...
Wait a second. How are you screwed up if the wrong answer was given? Did you tell him he was right?
I thought, well, you brought up a good point. How many people called in saying 1812 or 1815 or whatever, and I got it all wrong. At the end of the day, I screwed it all up.
Nice work. So why don't you just go back and whoever gave the right answer?
Well, because they were on the phone and now they're not. It's my first one. Leave me alone. So if you can tell us for sure what the right answer is, 347-205-9399. We'll screen 5 more. Sorry, Soccer.
There's going to be a pain penalty for this.
I know you're going to so make me suffer for this off the air.
There's something we're gonna have to. There's a pain penalty that's
such
associated.
a bonehead.
Yeah.
Speaking of boneheads, Diane Feinstein. As I like to call Frankenstein, came out with her, I don't know what you would call it, assault on the Second Amendment, destruction of our nation. How would we phrase this appropriately?
Unconstitutional law she's trying to sneak in.
Unconstitutional law. Either way, she came out with her, and I think it's going to go in front of a committee this week to be submitted to the House for new gun control. And have you read the list of guns that are on it that she wants to?
Yes, my eyes became crossed.
Wasn't there something, I don't have the exact number, wasn't there like 150 or some ridiculous amount?
There was a ridiculous amount, yes.
At what point do people realize where this is going? You could say, oh, you know what, this is just for the kids, and they're doing this to make school safer, this and that. And they're not having the conversation that they need to have. They're not having, as we've talked about, we talked about this week on John Grant's show, we didn't have the conversation of, hey, this is to protect us against tyranny. This has nothing to do with this or that or the other thing, or what gun we can limit, what gun we can't limit. But yet people are still getting behind them on this, and it's driving me absolutely crazy, considering Diane Feinstein is the same person that said this less than 10 years ago.
Okay, go.
California Senator Diane Feinstein worked for more than a year to get the assault weapons bill passed in the face of ferocious opposition from the National Rifle Association. She says she got the best she could.
If I could have gotten 51 votes in the Senate of the United States for an outright ban, picking up every one of them, Mr. and Mrs. America, turn them all in, I would have done it. I could not do that. The votes
weren't there. The votes weren't there because it's not constitutional, you dingbat. Where's Archie Bunker when you need him? Oh, geez, look at this, you dingbat. I mean, for God's sakes, woman, what is wrong with you? Mr. and Mrs. America, turn in your guns. No, why don't you turn in your guns? Why don't you turn around and, I don't know, give up your CCW or lose your armed guards, or, I don't know, not live in the ivory tower that you live in where everything is absolutely fine. There's no guns where I am except for the ones that I have. Yeah, no kidding.
Because they don't view, we've been through this, they don't view the Constitution as a restriction on their power. They review, or they believe the Constitution is there for them to shape and mold, and it's kind of a guideline, maybe, right? It's the law of the land, but it really kind of gets in the way, and times have changed. That's why. You know the answer to this.
It doesn't make it right. You know, and I know we've talked about this now since Sandy Hook, I think, every single show, and it's not going away. And the reason it's not going away is they are not conceding that is to protect us against tyranny. They are not accepting that as an answer. It's, oh, you know, I heard this discussion. Well, when was the last time, tyranny really took over a first world nation? Well, it depends on what you're, China? Russia was a first world nation for a long time, wasn't it? Technically, I guess. Yeah. But even let's go back in history. Every time you had start having some freedoms or whatever in a society, I go back to Rome. Look what happened to Rome. Yeah. Well, and it kills me because out of everyone that would be included on her bills, and Bob is in the chat room. Hey, Bob. Hey, Bob. Just beat me to this punch, but guess who's excluded from all these? Congress. Politicians. The government. Yeah, government employees. So, again, there's that double standard of I can have all the guns I need because I am so much more important than you. There are people always trying to kill me. Odds of you being robbed on a train, having somebody break into your home, I don't know, having the government turn tyrannous and force you to try to do things against your will and destroy our Constitution, that's never going to happen. I'm a big target. I need to have my gun. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And we go back to the whole argument of the militia and that argument they try to make. At the end of the day, we all know what their end game is. Why don't they just come out and say it?
Because they know that there would be an uprising. You know the answer to this. Because they know there would be a huge uprising if they came right out and say that. Look, what's one of the first? What's one of the final actions that any oppressive government imposes upon the people before true tyranny takes hold, and that's the disarming of the populace.
Right. And it's sad, but it's like step one. And, you know, Homeland Security just bought how many millions of rounds not too long ago? You can't tell me, and they have their little, what's their little corps called now that they just trained up, and then they're buying armored weapons. You know, we talked a couple months ago.
FEMA Corps?
The FEMA Corps. We talked a couple months ago about the military training with local law enforcement to deal with city uprisings. I know I'm getting more paranoid about this, and I say it every single week that we come on hand, and everyone can say, oh, he's a crazy wingnut, this will never happen. But you start looking at the evidence and which way that everything's pointing. We have socialized health care. You know, we are completely going after the Second Amendment. There are other things that have happened that they're going in that direction. And it's kind of frightening to me. Healthcare is bigger than I think anyone will understand for the next few years. That's a major deal. And all the other little things that have slid up in there, we already talked about how they're going to use healthcare for gun control last week.
Yeah.
So that's going to be, that encompasses more than just you going to the doctor because, you know, it's time to get your testicles felt by the doctor. Which, by the way, now the government's going to know exactly what's wrong with your testicles. It goes well beyond that. And there, what was it, 1,400 pages long, and there's just so much crap jammed into it. Right. So that was step one. Then what do? They waited for a tragedy to exploit to go after gun control. Unfortunately, Sandy Hook happened, and that was the action of a person with mental health needs, and it was compounded with the irresponsibility of his mother. And so Sandy Hook happened, and they said, oh, we got a tragedy. Let's parade our 4 children out. Let us sign it in front of them, say, oh, you know what, you don't agree. Oh, my goodness, you must not like children. Let us do that and get everyone behind. And then we'll send out Frankenstein to start outlining her gun control bill, the same woman that said if she could get every gun off the street 10 years ago, and if she had the votes, she would have absolutely done it. Yeah, it's starting to get scary, in my opinion.
It's been scary for a long time.
It's getting worse.
Of course it's getting worse, but let me ask you this. Do you think that Frankenstein has the votes in Congress to be able to pass this legislation?
Not right now.
Do you think she ever will? You look at the even a lot of the Southern Democrats or some of the Democrats in regions. Look, firearms are an important part of American heritage. They are. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that, but they are. And we've done several shows in a row where we actually talk about the Second Amendment and the history and what the militia is and how it's defined in the United States Code. And we've talked about all of those things. But at the end of the day, look, there was a reason that assault weapons ban had to sunset, the last one under President Clinton, and why it was never reintroduced into Congress. There's a reason the NRA is a very powerful organization, and there is a core group of people in the United States, and it's not just a small group of people. There is a large contingent in the United States that understand the importance of firearms. Whether they understand that the right includes the right to stand up against tyranny and an oppressive government, they believe at least that it is the right of self-defense in one's own home to defend one's own family. And that's why I believe that an outright ban is so. I don't think we're there. And her legislation, if I'm not mistaken, the former legislation, it was, any mean, scary gun that had a detachable magazine and two other military style features, right? For example, a foregrip or a bayonet lug, because bayonet lugs kill a lot of people, right?
What was the last bayoneting
or
we had
collapsing stock or whatever it is. But I think her bill actually it got rid of the sunset clause, and it also said a detachable magazine and one other feature. So a detachable magazine
and the scope.
And I don't think scope's on there, but detachable magazine and a foregrip, or a detachable magazine and a bayonet lug instead of bayonet lug and foregrip or whatever. And it even includes semi-automatic shotgun with a fixed magazine that exceeds 5 rounds.
Right.
What? Really?
Yeah. Remember when they said we're not, and not that we should be having this argument. Remember the whole sport conversation?
Yes.
Shotguns, yes, they're really good for home defense and a couple other purposes, but a majority of them are designed for sport. So now we're going to, it's semi-automatic. All right, but it's a shotgun, but it's semi-automatic. So that will parlay eventually into pistols. Well, now you can only have.
They already have some pistols that are on that list.
Oh, do they?
And so forth. Yeah.
Well,
the MAC-10, some of these other machine-style pistols, mean, scary, nasty-looking, guns.
Yeah. So it just mind boggles me how they're going to nitpick this down. And then once they get to that point, the next tragedy will happen. And unfortunately, I hate to say it, but you're always going to have horrific events in this world as long as we're here. It doesn't matter what you limit. Can you still buy diesel fuel? I can still buy diesel fuel. You can still buy diesel fuel. Where was the outrage after Oklahoma City? Remember, we're going to limit this. And they limited fertilizer and all this other stuff, but you can still get it by the time they get reviewed and all that stuff. Unlike with gun control, by the time you get to the fertilizer thing, by the time you order it and you get it, and then you get enough gasoline, you go to your 12 different stores and you order it, you get it all, you load it in the truck, it'll go off, and a week later when the government comes looking for it, they'll turn around and say, oh, well, yeah, we did sell it to that guy. Yeah, but we had this list. Yeah, we put it on there. So this shouldn't have happened, right? That's right, it shouldn't have, but it still did. Why? Because we have zero help for mental health in this country, and people that want to do awful, evil, mean, nasty things are going to, especially because the majority of people look at their friend or cousin or nephew and say, ooh, he's probably going to hurt somebody. But it's not really my place to tell. It's not my problem. Well, it kind of is your problem, and that's where it needs to start, is we need to get mental health back on board, and people need to start identifying telltale signs.
I do have something very fast, completely off topic.
Of course. Well, it's fine, because I'm used to it.
Well, good.
Fast part or off topic?
Off topic. Oh! Ladies and gentlemen, Sackhead Sacco. That was outstanding. That was.
I had his headphones on. I didn't even hear what he said.
That's fine. He just said the fast part. We're used to it. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're used to it.
Right.
Never mind. Whole different story.
It doesn't matter.
Different set of pictures. I'm going to take a break. I'll see you guys later. You guys obviously have this show, so
what do you have? Stop with the hurt feelings.
I have hurt feelings.
You have to have a feeling first.
All right. Pain compliance for Sacco. I was unclear in my question.
Okay.
Why are you staring at me?
I
with
just
that silk scarf wrapped around your head. Seriously. I was unclear in my question. My question was, when was the last time letters of marque were issued?
Right.
And what I was looking for was the conflict of the circumstance, which would have been the War of 1812. The actual year that the letter of marque was issued, the final letter of marque was in fact issued,
yes,
was 1815. So my question was unclear. Our fifth person in the chat room,
Tom in the chat room was the right, and he's still in the chat room.
Was correct. So my apologies to Tom. My question was unclear in my in my mind, I know what I meant.
All right.
But on it, technically, he is correct. The last time the U.S. authorized it was the War of 1812, which did begin in 1812. However, the last year that it was actually issued as part of that conflict was, in fact, 1815.
Wow.
So he was technically correct.
That's outstanding.
Yeah.
So he actually had enough vision to read into the question and say, I know exactly what he's saying.
Yeah.
As vague as he asked it, I'm going to use my inner knowledge and say 1815, and I'm going to be right.
Yes.
And so Tom Simpson in the chat room is right, so he's going to win the whole swag bag from Sackheads Radio.
Correct.
Out freaking standing. Well, that's going to push us into our last break. When we come back, we'll pick up a little bit more on the gun control.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's it. So, huh? Oh, our phone number is 347-205-9399. If anybody wants to jump in on anything that we've talked about tonight, we'll put you on hold and maybe take you. Hey, and also, once again, congratulations to Tom from North Dakota for winning the swag bag. We'll be back in a minute on Sackheads Radio.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
Hey folks, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank the men and women of our armed forces, as well as our first responders, law enforcement, firefighters, and emergency medical personnel. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for making this country and our communities a better and safer place. God bless.
Hi, this is Sarah Marie Brenner. We often talk on the Brenner Brief about the fact that there really needs to be an organization to help people at the local level who are interested in running for things like school boards, city council, and other local offices. Well, I think I finally have the solution for you, at least for you women out there. It's called Politigal Network, Politigal Network.com. Their website's going to be launching mid-August, but they're already on Twitter at PolitigalUSA. I encourage you to follow them and become a member. Their goal is to be the #1 resource for conservative women. So if you love freedom, liberty, the United States of America, and politics, check out PolitigalNetwork.com or Twitter at PolitigalUSA.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I know I've said it before. Check out our friends at conservativeoutcry.net, but I really mean it. You want interesting and exciting political commentary and analysis? That is the place to get it. Different, always spot on, always truthful, never pulling a punch. conservativeoutcry.net. Tell Rooster to get Bulldog back on and that Sackheads Radio sent you. And also, coming soon, the Sackheads Radio Forum on conservativeoutcry.net.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I want to talk to you a minute about our friends over at HomefrontHugs.com. They're an amazing organization of volunteers who take their time, effort, and money to take care of our troops overseas as they serve our great nation. HomefrontHugs.com. You can donate, write letters to troops, adopt a troop, you name it, you can do it. Help those wonderful folks who protect our freedoms. Go to HomefrontHugs.com. Tell them Sackheads Radio sent you.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank our men and women in uniform of the armed forces. Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank our men and women. Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank the men and women of our armed forces, as well as our... God.
You going to mention me this time?
Thank you, Sean. You said mention you, right?
Oh.
You totally need to keep that as an outtake.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
Hey, so I have an idea.
Yeah.
So on that whole letters of marque thing got me thinking, and that's dangerous sometimes.
Well, yeah, no, it sets off fire alarms.
Immigration is another issue coming up, right? That's kind of be brought to light. So why are you laughing? Why don't you and I apply for letters of marque? Because they can still use it, right?
Yeah.
And why don't we apply for letters of marque and see if we can get it to patrol like the coastal waters in the Gulf of Mexico, or what? Hang on, hear me out.
No, I'm listening.
Or the Caribbean,
right.
Looking for people, from Cuba or whatnot, looking to gain access to our country illegally. Criminal aliens coming over, or up even Canada, right? If there's any Canadians looking
the Puget Sound is usually just riddled with.
Yeah, we could put into the Puget Sound and actually, on our letter of marque, not necessarily a reprisal, right? Although I guess technically Congress could issue a letter of marque and reprisal to us for damages and costs based upon the cost that we have incurred for criminal aliens coming across our borders, particularly from Mexico. So I guess maybe it could be letter of marque and reprisal. They could grant that to us. But what do you think? But if we do it, we have to do it in class. We have to get like a whole wooden ship.
Yeah.
Cannons.
Absolutely.
Like real cannon, not like
how much? It shouldn't be too much to, read the Constitution for a few weeks, right?
No, why? No, well, it's still a naval vessel.
Right.
So that's part of the problem.
What if we just get an identical replica?
Have it made. And look, if you look at our Sackhead logo, it already kind of has the crossbones and skull with a paper bag over it. But
what if we get like a 1/3 size Constitution?
That would be. What about that paddle boat you bought from Costco? What if we just do that and put like a BB gun on the front or an airsoft gun?
And just do local ponds.
Yeah.
We have a letter of marque. It's fine. Hey, we talk all the time about the Constitution on the show and how dear we hold to it, and how important it is to we the people, which is not just a saying, but I truly believe that. I found this clip, and I'm sure some people have heard it. This was from Red Skelton. I want to say it was mid-'60s, and this was on his ABC show. And it's a great story about he as a child and having a teacher explain to them what the Pledge of Allegiance actually means. And I'm just going to play it, and we'll discuss afterwards.
I remember a teacher that I had. Now, I went through the 7th grade. I went to the 7th grade. I left home when I was 10 years old because I was hungry. And this is true. I work in the summer and I go to school in the winter. But I had this one teacher. He was the principal of the Harrison School in Vincennes, Indiana. To me, this was the greatest teacher, a real sage of my time, anyhow. He had such wisdom. And we were all reciting the Pledge of Allegiance one day. And he walked over, this little old teacher, Mr. Laswell was his name. Mr. Laswell, he says, I've been listening to you boys and girls recite the Pledge of Allegiance all semester, and it seems as though it's becoming monotonous to you. If I may I recite it and try to explain to you the meaning of each word. I, me, an individual, a committee of one, pledge, dedicate all of my worldly goods to give without self-pity, allegiance, my love and my devotion to the flag, our standard, Old Glory, a symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there's respect, because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts freedom is everybody's job. United. That means that we have all come together. States, individual communities that have united into 48 great states. 48 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose. All divided with imaginary boundaries, yet united to a common purpose, and that's love for country. And to the Republic, a state in which sovereign power is invested in representatives chosen by the people to govern. And government is the people, And it's from the people to the leaders, not from the leaders to the people, for which it stands. One nation, meaning so blessed by God, indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life without threats, fear, or some sort of retaliation. And justice, the principle or qualities of dealing fairly with others. For all, which means, boys and girls, it's as much your country as it is mine. And now, boys and girls, let me hear you recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Since I was a small boy, 2 states have been added to our country, and 2 words have been added to the Pledge of Allegiance: under God. Wouldn't it be a pity if someone said that is a prayer and that would be eliminated from schools too?
Yeah, I've watched that clip. I found it a long time ago on YouTube, and it's obviously ABC owns that, but I thought that was one of the best breakdowns I've ever heard of the Pledge of Allegiance and why it's important. He even brought up the fact of under God is not a prayer, but necessarily and shouldn't be removed from schools, which is starting to come up again, that all of a sudden, under God, you can't have that. But the reason I brought that up is last night I attended a local function at a city council meeting, and they did the Pledge of Allegiance. And I was shocked at how many kids were annoyed that they had to stand up, take off their hats if they were wearing it, actually turn their body 180 degrees to face the flag. And when we have these discussions about the Constitution and the freedoms and what it means to us, and we're going to get back into the Second Amendment for the last 20 minutes of the show, but that is scary to me, and that's, the message that we try to convey is, hey, you know what? It can all go away, and the fact that we have that pledge, the fact that we have our Constitution, we have our freedoms, which our founders said, are bestowed upon us by God, and we talk about this all the time. I'm not an overly religious person, but that doesn't mean that means any less to me. And every time I hear that, the Red Skelton piece there, it reminds me as to how lucky we are as a nation, and that's something that we cannot forget. And as we go into this gun control conversation, that's an integral part of our Constitution, and that's what protects us against tyranny. So, back to Frankenstein.
Well, I want to comment on what you just said real quick. I think that two are related in a roundabout way, and here's how. It actually makes me sad that we're at that point, and the liberal agenda that you can look up, even the communist goals in what I think it's 1963 in the Congressional Record, and where they talk about talking about teaching our Constitution as a changing document and so forth. It's sad that there is a push out there to have God removed from our schools, from our currency, from whatever. And it shows a fundamental disconnect and a lack of understanding on or about our original founding principles. Look, our founding fathers didn't want a nationally defined religion. The First Amendment states that Congress shall make no law relating to all of the things listed in the First Amendment. And so what that's saying is we don't have a national religion. We don't have a Church of England like when our founders and our forefathers came to this country or came to this land. That's what that's about. It's not that we can't say God in public, our nation was founded on Judeo-Christian principles. Whether you like it or not, whether you believe in God or not, that's your business. However, those are the principles that our country was founded on. And if you completely remove God from every aspect of our public life, you're removing morality from our society. And when that gets diminished and eroded, what happens to the society? And it's you can say, well, you can still have immoral people and not believe in God. Okay, you may be able to have a good people, but again, what is that standard based on? That standard comes from somewhere. That standard comes from a basic belief in some things are good and some things are bad. It's the whole root of good and evil. It's good and bad. And what is our sense of understanding from that? What defines what is good? Where did that originally come from? It's not just good because it is. That came from somewhere. That concept was born out of something. And whether you believe in God or not, you still know the difference between right and wrong. You know the difference between good and evil. You know the difference between what's acceptable or not. And those principles are universal truths, whether you're an atheist, whether you're a Catholic, whether you're a Christian, Baptist, whether you're Mormon, whatever the case may be. And that is the major issue that I have with it. And I know there were so many levels deep there. And it ties back to the Constitution. I mentioned the First Amendment. Now we're going to jump into the Second Amendment. It's the same thing. It's that progressive erosion of our rights and of our Constitution and of our society. It's the diminishing of our history. Do you remember the first inaugural, I think it was, or during the first election, where Michelle Obama said, hey, we have to change our thoughts, we have to change our culture, we have to change our history? Look, she meant it.
Right.
You know, you have to change those things, and it has to be done slowly and progressively. Look at the difference in fundamental understanding for where our country was founded and where we come from as a people, from even one generation, from our generation to even the younger generation now that's in school, or look 2 or 3 generations back. There is a major
disconnect.
Difference. Yeah, there's a major difference in our understanding of what is and what isn't and where we come from. And you know, I see it in places even as small as, you know, hey, on this application for whatever, what's your ethnicity? And it's something that's hyphenated with American after it.
Right.
It's, you know, African American. It's you know, Caucasian, which we've talked about this. I've never been to Caucasia. Have you? Yeah, I don't know where that is.
I would love to go to the motherland of Caucasia and see where my people run free. It's
not
anywhere near sunlight or anything.
It's hyphenated. Or people say, yeah, I'm Italian American. I'm Mexican American. You know what? How come there's no American?
Right.
We're American. We all come from somewhere.
Right.
Okay. Our families all immigrated from somewhere.
Unless you're Native American.
Unless you are Native American. So I always check other, and I write in America. Now I don't have a problem checking, you know, Italian American. If you were born in Italy and you came to the United States and you immigrated lawfully and you became a citizen, you know what? You're Italian American. I'm okay with that. But if you're born here in America, you're an American,
right?
In my opinion,
you are. You're born an American,
absolutely.
Or if you,
I mean, if I
citizen,
was born in Italy, I'd be an Italian, right?
Or if you become a citizen, you're also an American,
right? But if you were born in another country, I could see the hyphenating. I can see that.
Okay.
But not if you're born here, because I think what that does is it creates that
divide,
disconnect. It creates that divide.
Yep.
You know what? I'm in this group. I'm not part of your group. I'm in this group. And anyways, I think this whole Second Amendment debate that we're having now, this push from the progressives, now they see an opening, you know, that they can try and use politically to get again their gun agenda through. And again, it's an erosion of our rights. And I think they keep trying over and over again because they realize that there is an erosion in the understanding. Eventually, they're going to have a generation of people that do not understand what the intent of that Second Amendment is, because they're getting in schools and in media and everything else that guns are horrible, guns are bad,
indoctrination,
guns are evil. Yes, and eventually they're going to win. Let's look at the death penalty vote in California that keeps coming up every 10 years or so, right? And every time it comes up, it's getting closer.
Well, you know, it's funny. I talked to somebody who I was shocked when we talked about the death penalty, and he's a California resident, and I said, and if you knew him, you'd be shocked by this. But he said, you know, for the first time ever, I voted against the death penalty. And I said, why? And he said, because they don't use it. He's like, I'd rather it go away and then have somebody bring it back in a few years and say, yeah, we're going to bring it back, but we're going to word it differently now that we have DNA and a whole bunch of other stuff, and start working that into it and have it be faster. Because especially in California, you know, you sit on death row forever. Mm-hmm. And it's almost cruel, in my opinion. We talked about that. If you're on death row and you have a cancer and you're dying, they keep you alive, or they try to. You get all the medical care and all that stuff. So, and I said it's almost crueler because you have this person who's so, you know, sick and ill, and then they nurse them all the way back to health, and then at some point they may end up going into the chamber. And
but that's not the point,
right?
I mean, that's not the point. And
I just found that ironic that we were going to heal people who were supposed to be dying on.
Yeah. Well, it can't be cruel or unusual. Well, guess what? When that was written, they used to hang people.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
It doesn't get much crueler and it wasn't really unusual there.
No, absolutely not.
Pretty expedient a lot of the times.
I would say bring back firing squads, but that's just me. And I think I want to say there's a state that Utah still has firing squads.
I don't know if it went off the books or not, but yeah, as a matter of fact, not too long ago, if I'm remembering right, an inmate actually chose it.
Well, why wouldn't you?
He said, nope, I choose firing squad. And they tried to well, no, and he said, hey, it's on the books, so they had to use it. So I don't know if it's on the books or not anymore there. But yeah, Utah had firing squad for a long time. So it's cruel or unusual. It's unconstitutional. No, it wasn't.
Right.
When the Constitution was framed, they were hanging people, and before some smart ass says, yeah, but they had slaves too. But they wrote into the Constitution provisions, a drop-dead date, a sunset clause date for the importation of slaves, and put the mechanisms in place to start defeating slavery
intentionally.
In the country. So absolutely intentionally. So I don't want to hear that argument.
And then if you read the organic documents, it was well documented in there that people were to be free. They started talking about the Indians, Native Americans, and how they won't be pushed off their land, or they have their freedom. So everyone who has that argument that they were these evil racists and all that stuff, if you read their writings, it's quite the opposite, which is why we're one of the freest nations. We are the freest nation in the world.
The last bastion. What happens when we fall?
Well, and to go back to the original point of gun control, that's a step along the way. They get that into place, they destroy our Second Amendment, we could very well fall. And it's not.
Yeah, because then how is it? Look, I like bringing the flip side up. So, what happens?
I've always said that about you. I like it when you bring the flip side up.
No, I know you do, because I usually bring pictures.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what happens when somebody else gets into power that maybe you don't agree with on the left? And I wouldn't agree if they did this, if anybody did this anyways. But what if somebody else comes in power and they say, you know what? Yeah, that pesky Fifth Amendment.
Ooh.
You have the right not to incriminate yourself. You have the right against being a witness against yourself, except in really serious crimes, because now we're just talking about public safety.
Right.
We're talking about the safety of the children. So if you're convicted of raping and murdering kids, that's so heinous that we're going to restrict your Fifth Amendment, or we don't want to take them away.
We're just going to restrict it.
We're going to restrict that, and then it goes to, well, you know what?
The fourth.
Any felony.
Yeah.
Any felony, and you don't have the right to self-incrimination. And not only that, because our process is so messed up, we're going to go ahead and you have to, if you want representation, you have to get a permit.
Right, a special representation permit.
Yeah, so you have to have a special representation permit in order to exercise your Sixth Amendment right. And if you don't want the government to come in and search your house, you have to have a permit,
a Fourth Amendment permit,
a Fourth Amendment permit to be able to exercise your right to privacy on your own private property and to be.
But there's going to be limitations, and there'll be a sunset date on certain things. Like you can have a grill, but only for the next 5 years, or you can have a Barker lounger in your house, but you can only have that until
because of the manufacturing process releases greenhouse gases that we don't like. So we're going to go ahead and regulate that.
And obviously, we're being ludicrous to prove a point. When it comes back to the Second Amendment,
it is a slippery slope. You start regulating.
It is a dangerous slippery slope.
You start over-regulating one particular amendment in the Constitution, and that opens the flood. Hey, I'm sorry. Once the Supreme Court rules like they have on the Second Amendment that, restrictions can be
like
put
they have
in
on
place.
health care.
And the First Amendment also, right? Well, you have to have a permit to exercise your free speech on public property. Wait, what?
Oh, and you can't protest within X amount of feet of the president.
Right.
But I have the right to air my grievances with government. He is the executive branch with government, because I do so in a peaceful manner. Yeah, no, it's actually against the law to do it, and I forget what the distance is, but you can't do.
I think it's like 20,000 miles, so we may be in violation.
How far away is the moon?
Now, hang on a second.
Can we buy advertising space for the moon?
If we're protesting and somebody is listening to our show within that distance of the president, are we in violation?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, we're not,
Secret Service.
We're not willingly
participating. Oh, sure we are. We're willing.
But we're not
willingly
willingly that close.
But it's reasonable to assume that with internet technology, that somebody in that area would be listening.
It's easy to stream. I've streamed our shows.
Yeah,
I've streamed.
We are that big of a deal now.
I've streamed the 405 radio, which we've been simulcasting on all night tonight, along with our show. So yeah, that's a good point. We're trying to get to the point of where does it end, and at what point do we need to hold true to our Constitution and our values and not just give it away under the guise of it'll be safer for everybody. You know what? It'll be safer for everybody if we all walked around with pillows on our heads and
togas.
I mean, you could. How far can they go with this? And they will go as far as you let them go.
Well, and that's exactly it. It's a seemingly minor infringement, and you have some people on the fence of, I can see, but look, what do you really need that type of rifle for sporting or target practice for?
I don't,
but I want it.
Right.
You have a fundamental disconnect, a fundamental ignorance of the Constitution, what it is, and what kills me is there are smart people out there that have this flawed understanding.
They get pulled into the emotional argument.
They really do,
and they don't go with the reality,
or they find key documents to support their position, which is very, very narrow. When the documentation on what we're supposed to do with the Constitution and how we're supposed to interpret it is very clear.
It's not hard at all.
No, we interpret it. You have to when interpreting questions about the Constitution, look at it from the time in which it was created or written.
Right.
Something to that effect. It's not a direct quote, an exact quote, and I believe that was Thomas Jefferson. It's pretty straightforward. Look, when we have the entire foundation of our country is written on, a few pages, versus we have laws that are literally this assault weapons ban and
healthcare law,
1,400 pages. Back to healthcare are how many pages to accomplish something, and you have to be an attorney to decipher it. Look, I can give the Constitution to a 10-year-old child, and then say, hey, they want to prevent people from owning certain types of arms, and a 10-year-old could look at that and be like, well, they can't do that. The Constitution is not a difficult document to follow or to read, and it was designed that way on purpose because the people need to understand the law of the land in order to take an active role and in order to truly be free. And we're not there. And here goes Diane Frankenstein to again slowly erode our rights. She's doing it a little more bolder than the last assault weapons ban and restricting or taking out the sunset clause and making it a detachable magazine plus one feature. Mean scary. Why don't they just write mean, scary-looking guns are illegal? That's right. That's simple. Mean, scary-looking guns are illegal.
Have you ever seen the Hello Kitty AR-15? That's why.
Oh, yeah, good point.
It's not scary at all.
Good point.
No, we get into this all the time, and we beat this dead horse. Unfortunately, we have to because not enough people are understanding this. And I know the people that follow us, for the most part, and listen to us, are intelligent enough to get it. But you need to tell your friends. You need to explain this. This needs to be something that sweeps the nation, not just for gun control, but for progressivism in general. Our Constitution needs to be protected. Listen, I read probably on a third grade level. Fourth, maybe?
Yeah, fourth.
I got through my ABCs last week. I can get through the Constitution in 45 minutes. And that's taking my time and rereading certain aspects of it. It's not hard, like Clint said. You need to do this. It's read it with your kids at bedtime.
There's a reason that the Second Amendment is second.
Yeah.
Hey, wasn't there a sheriff out of California?
El Dorado County, I believe.
Yeah, what? And
he's pretty much wrote a letter to VP Biden and the president saying that he will not enforce any new unconstitutional federal firearms regulations.
Okay, now here's my question for that sheriff. That's good, but
I appreciate that.
Right, but I have a question. This law that Diane Frankenstein is trying to push through, and I wonder what Boner, I don't think, has come out. Has he said anything?
I haven't really heard Boner on this yet.
So Diane and Pistol Grip Pelosi, I'm sure she'll come out.
Oh no, I'm sure she's parading around. Her and Feinstein go to the
Diane Frankenstein.
Because I think they both have their 100th birthday next year.
I think it's 112.
112, right?
I'm not sure. So California, this Frankenstein bill is very similar to California's ban.
Weird. We've talked about this before.
So hey, sheriff. Why is it that you're protesting and you're saying you're not going to enforce this federal unconstitutional law, but so my question, I guess, would be, do you tell your deputies not to enforce California's gun laws?
Which goes against the Constitution?
Which goes against the Constitution. And if his argument is, well, 10th Amendment states rights, then my retort to that would be, the 10th Amendment states that the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively. Well, the Second Amendment prohibits
limitation. Says so right into it.
Prohibits government from infringing on the right of the people to keep and bear arms. Therefore, even though it's a state law under the 10th Amendment, because it is something that's prohibited by the Constitution, it's unconstitutional also. So, Sheriff, did you send a letter to Darrell Steinberg and the state Senate and to Governor Brown in California and to the state legislature? Because if not, maybe you haven't thought about it, or maybe you did. I don't know. Maybe your deputies do not enforce those provisions of California law.
Maybe everyone needs to ask their sheriffs this question all over the country.
Yeah.
That's kind of an important question.
Especially out of California. Do we have a way we can tweet that sheriff that question? And
maybe we can email and get the response.
Yeah.
I'll teach you how to use email, and then you can do that and send a response.
No, I don't want anything to do with it. I'll write it out in pencil or crayon or marker or
I'll
finger
mail it,
paint
snail
or something.
mail.
I'll finger paint
That's good, because with this post office, it'll get there in 3 years. So that'll work out fine.
What are you talking about? They're very efficient. I've seen Miracle on 34th Street, right?
We got to start wrapping up our show.
I've been wrapped up.
Pardon me. Gosh, man, that was pretty funny. All right, so I'd like to thank Tami Jackson for joining us as our guest on the first part of the show. Really appreciate that. She's all over the world. Just search Tamara Jackson. She's also on Twitter at Tami J. Check us out, sackheadsradio.com. We are at on Sackheads for Twitter, Facebook.com.
We are Sackheads.
Sackheads Radio. Special thanks to John and the 405 Radio for simulcasting us tonight on their network. Couldn't appreciate it any more. And like I said, educate yourself, educate your kids, educate your friends, and don't forget these very important words.
See, why the hell are you going to put me on the spot like that? Michael Moore's a douchebag.
Michael Moore is in fact
a douchebag. That's been confirmed?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
100% confirmed.
No, it's confirmed. So breaking news.
It is absolutely. I didn't have my breaking news music. Damn it! I will see you, my friend, next week.
You got it. Thank you all for listening.
Hey, Sacco, I'll see you next week.
Sacco, literally.
Sacco, wake up. We lost him. We'll see you guys next Friday night in the Sackheads Radio Show.